Good afternoon, everybody. We're out here with the sheep. We just moved the cows, kind of letting them calm down just a little bit before we move the cows. So we always catch the sheep up in this little catch-up spot. So it's a good time to take care of the sheep when you've got stuff. And so I've got them caught up in here. This is a pretty good little spot. I've never worked sheep, so to speak. We used to do goats when we were kids. Basically, we'd do about this same little process. We'd catch them up like this, and then we'd just catch them, and we could usually, if we were like trimming hooves or something, we could throw our leg over their back and pick up each hoof. But I know in the big sheep industries, they've got like catch chutes and all like that. We don't have enough sheep to justify buying all of that and all like that, and we don't have enough land that we can even run sheep on. So, but we are slowly moving towards that. This is the biggest flock that we have. This is all we've got right now. The ram is right here. You can tell I've only got 2 animals with tags on them. That ewe back over there, it's got a number 2 tag on it. That's actually my first. That's my first sheep that I've ever owned, is the one with the number 2 tag on it. Don't ask me why I have a number 2 tag on it. The ram is right here. It's the other one with the tags on it. It's got 2 different sets of tags on it on both ears. That is a registered St. Croix ram, and it is a very jam-up animal. You can tell he's starting to get his hair on his chest. That's the kind of the signature thing of a St. Croix as they get older. From what I understand, I'm learning more and more about these animals, you know. But one thing I'm noticing about these animals is, like cattle, you can kind of work through them. You can kind of, you know, like get a stick and kind of get one to go one way, like go back that way. And you can just kind of get a stick and guide them. Like just put the stick in front of their face or something like that, and you can guide them with it. And you can sort and separate through them. But I'm noticing with these sheep, you get one away from them and they go crazy. Now, of course, these sheep, the person I got them from, these sheep are not gentle at all. The ram, he's gentle. You can walk up to him and pet him. So that's different. So everything that I'm learning with these sheep may be altogether different if I had sheep that were more gentle. That I don't know. So if there's anybody out there that has worked with sheep and they kind of know different ways to do that, I'd love to hear from y'all. I love hearing y'all's comments and things that y'all put in there. You know, there's always that oddball person that puts in ridiculous comments, but other than that, I don't really mind it. And the funny thing is bad comments don't affect my channel badly. All comments, whether they're good or bad, affects my channel in a good way. So that's what's funny, is it never really hurts me in any way. So I really love to hear from y'all. Love to hear the comments. But the best way that I have found so far with our system and what we've had to work these things is to get them up into get them with their nose kind of trapped up in there. So, and they'll do it on their own. When you get up on them like this, you can tell. See, that other one went that way, and you see how kind of crazy they are? If I were to get up on them, they would go crazy. And you see this one comes back. So, the excuse me, guys. That goat weed's really starting to get to me. I was working with it, cutting some goat weed down earlier, so it's getting to me. But the best thing I have found to do is to get them all locked in a corner, and it's a lot easier if you've got 2 people. And then you reach in and grab the one you want, okay? And then you bring that one back. The rest of them will kind of jump around or do whatever. So you reach in, grab the one you want by its back leg, bring it back, and then get it laid down on the ground and work with it. And when I say working them, the only thing we've done so far is we've banded the rams that we had. We always like to check their hooves. Now, one thing I will say is that I've talked to several grass genetic farmers that raise sheep, and what they always tell me is that when you feed them grain, their hooves grow and you have to trim them. And when you feed them grass, it's just plain grass, their hooves grow slower, and so they're able to keep their hooves trimmed off. And really that makes a lot of sense, because everything in nature used to take care of itself. Now, some of those things are adaptations that we've made over time. We've bred certain animals to do certain things that we want. And so because of that, we have to take care of certain things. But hair sheep, from what I understand, hair sheep is one of the closest to the original genetics that we've ever, that ever was. So it's one of the closest sheep. So wool sheep are not. They're not close to that genetic. So it makes sense that there was a way in nature for their hooves to be taken care of, you know, without having to worry about trimming them. So that's what my understanding is that grass-fed sheep, you do not have to worry about that. I will say that I got these from a guy that claims to be grass-fed, but it was very clear when I bought them that they were grain-fed. You can always tell when an animal's grain-fed, and there are different ways to tell, and I will make a separate video talking about that. But they were grain-fed. And so the sheep did have some really, they had some gnarly looking hooves. They needed to be trimmed bad and everything. And so that's something we had to work with. They were also wormy, and we've seen a lot of them has gotten a lot healthier looking and everything over time. They weren't bad. I'm not going to say that they looked bad. They did not, or I wouldn't have bought them if they looked bad. But so far, everything's been really good. So that's the things that I'm talking about, is we like to look at their hooves, get them up, look at their hooves, and look them over, you know, and you never know what kind of things you may have. So, you know, we had one that had a limp, and we had to get it up and check it and see what was wrong with it. So we've been, and then we had another one recently, so I don't know, like after we got that first one taken care of, then we had another one that had a pretty good limp as well, and that kind of has rotated through all of them. They've kind of rotated through, and one or two will have a limp, and then we'll get it up and we check it, you know, and there was one, like we said, we had a nail actually get in there, so the nail must have been out in that pasture somewhere, so you have to watch for that. But most of them have gotten limps, and then we've checked them and trimmed their hooves and taken care of it, and then they've gotten back to being good. So if anybody in the comments knows about that, knows any information on that, let me know on that as well. But that's about the main thing with the working that we do that I have found to be most effective, is getting them tight into a corner. Like I said, 2 people is always nice because these animals are way stronger than you might think. Reach in, grab a back leg, okay, and then get them turned over, rolled over on their back. And one thing that I've seen, the best way for castrating them, and we use a bander, we like a bander best, but the best way that I have found for castrating them is actually to grab them and sit down on a chair, okay. I did it first. I sat down on the ground, okay, and I rolled them back on me and then castrated them. But I actually saw a video that someone else did. I think it was Greg Judy I saw doing it. And I would he sat down on the chair, and I was like, well, that makes sense. It's a lot easier than sitting down on the ground. So anyway, they actually had a group of people, and somebody brought the lamb to him. So, but for me, it's just like, if it's just one person, a lot of times with me it is, then you just do the best you can do. I mean, if I put a chair out here, I would get it kicked over or something like that. So if I had somebody else out here, then I would do that. So if I didn't, then getting them, of course, you have to have 2 people to get them banded. I do want to say that. But the main thing is getting them rolled backwards on you, where they're sitting back on you. And we'll probably do a video and show y'all more of that if that's something y'all would like to see. But that's the best things that I have seen so far, is getting them in a corner like this, grabbing the back leg, and either, if I'm just working on their hooves, I'll roll them over on their side, okay? And in any animal, if you're wanting to keep them from fighting and all like that, if you'll just take that arm or your hand and just lay it right on their neck, gently, just lay it right on their neck and hold and up close to their face, that you're not even going to have to push real hard, because they won't fight you. Now, some of them will, but for the most part, they'll stop. They'll get all the fight out of them just like that, and they'll just stay right there with you. Our goal, as I've said in the past with a lot of different animals, I'm not a big fan of making livestock incredibly tame. Now, I say that trying not to be a hypocrite, because I know, and y'all have seen my videos in the past, I do have a cow that will come up to me and let me pet her and all like that. And so, I mean, I'm not heartless. If they come up and they want me to pet them, then I will pet them. But what I mean is I don't intentionally get large livestock animals tame, because if you get a whole pen full of really tame 1,000, 2,000 pound animals, those animals can hurt you more than an aggressive animal. You know, they can walk right up on you. The camera's getting a little bit blurry. I'm not sure why. Let it focus. Come on, focus in. There it is. All right. Yeah, so if you get a 1,000 pound, 2,000 pound animal and they try to come up and rub on you while you're in a working pen, you get several of them like that, they can hurt you badly, okay? But I have said that I am a fan of making pigs tame. I'm a big fan of that. I'm starting to think that I like the idea of getting these sheep a little bit tamer as well. Like, he's just about right. He'll let you pet him and handle him, but he's not like just super friendly. We do have a goat that is too tame, if that makes sense. Now, if all you're looking for is a pet, that's fine. But she's so tame, she messes with everybody else. She messes with the flow, and she's just no longer a good herd animal. So you're trying to make herd animals or flock animals, you know. So in my experience with some of these animals, you get them too tame, then they aren't good with the flock and they can mess everything up, okay? Or the herd or whatever. And with goats, I'm actually not sure what you call it with goats. Y'all let me know in the comments if y'all know. I'm not sure that I've ever known that, what you call goats. Do you call it a herd? Do you call it a flock? What do you call it? I'm not sure that I've ever known that. I may have known it at one point and forgotten about it. I don't know. But anyway, so I will say that you want to, you don't want him too tame. And you can tell he's more tame than the rest of them. He's turning around looking at me. The rest of them are turning away from me. Okay, he's more tame than the rest of them. The rest of them are slowly calming down. So my thought is if they were all about like him, that'd be perfect. Where you can pet them, you can handle them. They're not crazy. They're not scared of you. They don't mind you petting them, but they're not so attached to you that they mess with the whole flock. I think that's the route that I want to go with sheep. I think that would be the best way to handle it. But y'all let me know in the comments, especially if y'all have had like a big flock or something like that. Like I said, it's different when you have a small group of animals, a real small group. Things are different. You can make them pets and like that. But when you've got larger herds, especially like if you got 300 cows and stuff like that, I mean, you've got to, or 500 sheep or whatever, you know, you got to work things a little bit different, and they got to work out right. Because, you know, if you had this whole flock going one way and then the other one came to you, anybody that knows anything about sheep knows that the other sheep will watch all of them. So if one goes one way, they all want to go that way. So you got to watch that. That could be problematic as well. But anyway, guys, that's kind of my thoughts on this. You know, he may come up over here for a pet. Hey, big boy. Hey, big boy. See, he'll actually let me pet him, and I don't mind petting him. See, he doesn't necessarily want me to come right up on him, but he's not scared of me, and that's good. I like that. That's about perfect for me. Because if I were to grab him and start working with him, checking his hooves, then he would be calm because he knows I'm not going to hurt him. But he's still bonded to the flock. Okay, so he still wants to be with them. He doesn't think he's a person. So, or a pet, you know, or something like that. And that's kind of the main thing I'm trying to say is I have found that there does need to be a distinction between your pets and your animals. And some people have trouble also processing them if they're pets. So keep that in mind too, if that's something you have trouble with. But anyway, guys, I'm going to sign off here. I just wanted to touch on that, kind of show y'all some stuff that I've learned. And I'm also trying to leave this video open for discussion. I'd love to see some comments, y'all telling me what you think, you know, talking amongst yourselves. I really appreciate that and like that. And we'll see how he acts. I don't know. Hey, big boy. Big boy. Yeah, he kind of likes that. He's a little bit nervous. He doesn't want to get too close. He doesn't know. But it's funny, he wasn't nervous at all until he actually came over here with them. But when he started realizing that they're nervous, that's something that he started learning. He started getting a little bit more nervous because they were. He reacted based on the way they reacted. But one thing I have been doing, I'm going to say this real quick, just to start calming them down, is I've started doing a little whistle for them. I'd be like, And I found, like, if I walk into a pasture and they're just real panicky and they don't know who I am, if I do that, they'll recognize who I am. And even though they're not like real gentle or want to come up and let me pet them, they understand who I am, and they do know I'm not a threat. They don't necessarily want me right up there with them and in their business, but they know that I'm not a threat. So that's something that I have found as well. But if y'all know some good ways to get them calmed down, get them a little bit more calm. I wouldn't mind them being a little bit more calm than they are, other than just this right here, coming out here with them and spending time and moving them and stuff like that. I know if I was moving them as often as I move my cattle, I know they would already be a little bit better. But we're in a situation, y'all know that we're in a situation right now where we're only moving them back and forth. We've been busy enough that we have not started training them to hot wire. And there's a small enough flock also. And anyway, so I'm not going to make excuses for myself. It's just how it's been. But we are moving them back and forth. And there are some other little tips as well that we've been doing to make sure that they don't get a parasite load. That's going to be a video I'm going to have coming up as well. It's how we do it. Like, it's a little tip that you can do when you're raising sheep. It won't work with cattle, but it's something you can do when you're raising sheep. You can keep their parasite load down even when you're not moving them as much. So there is a good little tip to that, and I would like to make a video on that. So y'all stay tuned for that and watch out for it. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe.